Why do people migrate? Some of us, like me, do so voluntarily for better lives. Muhammad Ali was the descendant of African slaves brought here in chains. Some migrate because they are priced out of neighborhoods. Gentrification, as we discussed at this morning's breakfast. The deluge at our southern border is due to a mix of drivers: political persecution, lack of economic opportunities. People migrate because of war and increasingly climate change. According to migration policy, there were 33 million natural disaster-related displacements in the year 2022. Most migration is internal, within the borders of a nation, whether it's floods in Pakistan or drought in Somalia or war in Syria. Even here in the US, and they have a climate explainer, 3.2 million US adults were displaced or evacuated due to natural disasters in 2022, of whom more than 500,000 had not returned by the beginning of 2023. Worst case scenarios are projecting the displacement of hundreds of millions of people in the coming decades. Some are predicting an all-out collapse of the global population, brought on by sudden and drastic shocks to the global system. Remember COVID-19, when supply chains broke down? The one New York Times headline said, "The floating traffic jam that freaked us all out." Now imagine something like that on multiple orders of magnitude. Vanessa Machado de Oliveira begins her book titled Hospicing Modernity with a frightening picture of the world, as she imagines what it would be like on the 100th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So I'm going to quote this from her book. She painted this scenario. They were invited for a conference in Germany, and so she recreates it in the book. Imagine today is December 10th, 2048, and you are participating in a 3D virtual reality world conference call aimed at deciding how we should educate our children and ourselves after the devastating impact of the events of the past 30 years. These events were caused by human greed, arrogance, stubbornness, and an unwillingness to learn from our wrongs, failures, and mistakes. There are 1 billion people on this call. There are 1 billion people on this call, a third of today's total world population. We will start by recalling significant events that happened in the last 3 decades. What you will see next is just the text of this presentation. The associated images and videos are now being transferred to your body implants. Please blink twice to accept the files. And that's the end of the quote. So if your mind flickers, as you hear this, mine did too. I mean, what? 3 billion people in 2048, blink twice to accept files? So Machado de Oliveira blends collapse with progress. So the two things are juxtaposed into a convoluted, but not entirely implausible vision of one possible future. In teaching at Twilight, the meaning of education in the age of collapse, the title of his book, a friend of mine and colleague Ahmed Afzal, he argues that the Malthusian trap has not been evaded. It has only been delayed. There are limits to growth on a finite planet. Technological innovations, he argues, allows us to increase our planet's carrying capacity, but only at the expense of other life forms. A tipping point is coming. Afzal relies on conclusions offered by the Planetary Boundaries Framework, curated by the Stockholm Resilience Center, according to which we are in a condition known as overshoot. After critical thresholds are crossed, the Earth is likely to experience a phase shift, a catastrophic chain reaction that could ultimately render the climate incompatible with life. Under this scenario, if sufficient numbers of humans happen to survive, the population will be numbered in the hundreds of millions, not in the tens of billions.